managed to arrest the decline in the World Bank's ease of doing business rankings. But the government's dream of breaking into the top 50 looks a long way off. In the recent World Bank rankings, India occupies the 130th spot among 189 countries. The bank has changed its methodology and has upgraded India's rank last year from 142 to 134. So if you go by that, then it means India has moved 4 places higher. But if you go by the previous methodology, then it means that India has actually gone up 12 places. Rituparna Bhuyan and Arib Sherwani report that while it's become easier to start a business in India, getting credit has become tougher.
After falling for 2 years at a trot, the Modi Sarkar's efforts to prune outdated and unnecessary procedures have boosted India's position in the Doing Business Index by 4 ranks, taking us to the 130th position. The latest ranking, though, is the lowest amongst the BRICS nations.
Whether it was Rwanda, whether it was Russia, or whether it was Croatia, all of them in the initial year had just jumped 3 positions, and then they jumped 11 positions, but in the 3rd or 4th year, they jumped up radically. So I think this would, we've jumped from 142 to 130. I think we should try and break into the top 100, and in the 3rd year, go all out.
The sharp improvement in the ranking can be explained by a huge jump in the category of ease of getting an electrical connection, where India's rank this year stood at 70 compared to 99 last year. This is because of the Delhi government's initiative to club 2 clearances to 1. Moreover, in the starting a business parameter, India's rank jumped 9 places to 154, as the government did away with norms like minimum capital requirement and the need to obtain a certificate to commence business operations. When it comes to obtaining construction permits, India showed a token jump of 1 position to 183. A similar token increase was also seen in the paying taxes indicator, with a rank of 157. India managed a status quo with respect to doing business indicators like registering property, protection of minority investors, trading across borders, enforcing contracts, and resolving insolvency. But in a worrying development, India's ranking fell in the getting credit parameters by 6 notches to 42.
I think the most challenging is enforcement of contracts, because India is 186 out of 189. Only Angola, Bangladesh and Timor-Leste are behind us. And I think enforcement of contract, the judiciary will have to take action to ensure that India radically improves. We must bring in e-filing, we must ensure e-judgments.
On its part, the World Bank has maintained that there is considerable scope for improvement in India's ranking.
The Ease of Doing Business report basically captures policy measures used by MSMEs in Delhi and Mumbai, and hence many critics believe that this is not the right measure of business environment in India. It is fairly clear that the next Ease of Doing Business report will capture far more policy reforms initiated by the Indian government, leading to a better ranking. But it remains to be seen if a better ranking leads to more investments by foreign companies. In New Delhi, Rituparna Bhuyan.
All right, so the arrest of the decline has taken place, but is it a 12-place jump or a 4-place jump? The World Bank report says, and I quote, the DB 2015 ranking shown is not last year's published ranking, but a comparable ranking for 2015 that captures the effects of such factors as data revisions and the changes in methodology. And when I spoke with the World Bank India Director Ono Roll, I started by asking him about the big confusion in the rankings. Has India jumped 20 places or 4 places? That was my first question to him.
Well, you know, the way I look at it is last year we issued a report in which India was ranked 142, and this year we're issuing a report in which India is ranked 130. And the most important thing to take away from that is actually 2. One is that the trend of a number of years of decline has been reversed. And secondly, that India has made a good start to what we hope is a sustained period of increased rankings, similar to what Russia has done in the past, where over 4 years it moved from 142 to 51. The first year, Russia moved only 3 places. So whichever way you look at it, it's a good start.
Whichever way you look at it, it is a good start, that's for sure, Ono, but there's a big difference between 12 and 4. So how should we read this? Is it 12 or is it 4?
To me, it's 12, because I just read the report 1 year and then I read it the next year.
But you've changed the methodology for 2015, so our ranking has actually improved even in 2015, hasn't it, as per your own report?
Yes, I know, but I don't know what it actually means to rank 1 year back. So to me, this is a methodological debate. India itself has always been arguing that we needed to keep improving the methodology. We've listened to that including India's appeals. So we're trying to get better at how we rank this. The bottom line is this year it's 130. The bottom line is India is one of only 1/3 of countries that has even improved at all. And India has made 2 really important reforms. On top of that, we already know that in at least 5 other areas India has done reforms after the cutoff period of this report, which was May 31st, as you know. So the outlook looking forward is even more positive.
So how probable is it, Ono, that we could possibly see that jump to the number 50 position, which is what the government's aspiration is over the next 2 years? You were giving us the Russia example. You've said that the report doesn't factor in several of the reforms that have already been undertaken by this government. So how confident should we feel about the government's aspiration of getting to number 50?
I think it's a realistic goal. I've said that before. I'm not quite certain 2 years is the realistic time frame. It took Russia more like 4 years. It took Rwanda more like 5 years. Because it is a lot of work and some of these areas take time to come through. But I think it's a realistic goal, and I really feel that the government, both the central government, the Mumbai government, the Maharashtra government and the Delhi government are very focused on reaching that goal.
Uno, let's talk about the details as far as the ranking is concerned, and we can see significant improvements as far as starting a business is concerned, where India is now ranked at 155 versus 164, and the second improvement where we are seeing a significant difference as per your study is electricity, where India's rank has gone to 70 versus 99 last year. So these are the 2 categories that have really pulled up the overall ranking. Isn't that true?
That is absolutely true, and I really want to emphasize that the revision of the Companies Act, which happened in less than 6 months, is a major step. And I've personally never seen a Companies Act seen revised in a time period of only 6 months. And then also the efforts both in Mumbai and Delhi to make it easier to get an electricity connection have really paid off, as you say.
Okay, but let's talk about where we haven't really seen improvement, or actually we've actually declined. Minority investor protection, India, status quo, ranked 8th last year, 8th this year. Paying taxes, we've actually declined a point. We're now at 157 versus 156. And where we've actually seen no change at all is enforcing contracts, where again we're status quo 178 this year versus 178 last year. Do you feel confident that we are perhaps going to start to see some improvement in these areas on the back of what you are seeing in terms of policy changes?
Yes. So first of all, protecting minority investors, India is number 8 in the world. That's absolutely world class. It's essentially impossible to go up from there, and because India is really doing very well. So we don't expect any significant change from a world class performance. I think in terms of dispute resolution, the key is that in fact some very encouraging steps have been taken since. In Maharashtra, commercial benches have been notified. They will need to start operating. If they start operating, which we fully expect in the near future, that will mean improvements for next year's ranking. The same is happening in Delhi, and there's also work underway to digitize, to use technology to speed up the court process. This is extremely important because this is an area where India historically has done badly, and therefore we're very encouraged about the steps. Similarly, paying taxes, we already know that e-filing and e-payment has been made possible and will become the practice. We are therefore confident that there'll be improvement in next year's ranking, and therefore I keep emphasizing that the improvement this year is only a first step. Lots of efforts are underway.
So expect a further improvement next year. That's the word coming in from the World Bank India head on the ease of business rankings. And industry leaders welcome the move, say the government is doing its bit to make it easier for business, and they're hopeful that more progress will be made.
I think the government is very seized on the taxation matter. You've already heard today that the retrospective tax issue is being fixed. I think the tax simplification is certainly one big area. Tax rationalization is a big area. Of course, this has to be done sooner than later. It has to be done with a sense of urgency. I think the government is looking at these kind of issues.
There's still a lot of room for improvement. I know the tax is a big thing, particularly when you talk about the startups. We need to really figure out how to treat angel investment in startups, right? Still a lot of clarity needs to emerge. So there are a lot of things that we need to improve from a policy perspective, but I think everybody in the government is really sort of tuned to what the industry wants.
So that's the World Bank ease of doing business.